Good morning, Mr. Kerry.
Good morning to you.
This is Mary Kyoko, and I'm back again with some few more questions regarding your church.
Wow, welcome back, Mary Kyoko.
Okay, so my question today is, why does your church have no name?
Okay, our church has no name because it is not a denomination. You know, with denominations, whenever a person comes up with the idea of starting a denomination, that is when he goes to the extent of finding a name. But with the Church of Christ, Christ being the founder of the church did not give it a name. We read in the book of Matthew chapter 16 verse 18 the promise where Jesus is promising to build his church when he says that upon this rock I shall build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. So in that verse, in that Matthew 16:18, where Christ is promising to build the church, he calls it my church. The word my is possessive, meaning belonging to Christ. And the other thing to note about the verse is that he is using the singular church and not churches. Therefore, there is one specific church which was built by Jesus Christ, which belongs to Jesus Christ, and Christ, being the founder of that church, did not give it a name, and therefore they exist like that without a name.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, because we are not a denomination.
So here comes another question.
Yes.
Is denominationalism evil?
Yes, denominationalism is evil because, first of all, right from the word itself, denominationalism, a denomination, right from the meaning of the word, you see the word is suggestive of its meaning.
Yeah.
Because denomination comes from the same root word as denominator in fractions, which means to divide. Therefore, it means denominations are divided. And it is true because they are divided in their teachings, they are divided in their plans of salvation, they're divided in their hopes, they're divided in everything. But that is not what Christ intended. If you read from the chapter 17 of John, the whole chapter 17 of John, you will find that Jesus was pleading with the Father because of the believers that he was leaving behind, that they may be one, that they may be united, just as Christ and God are united, that they may be one. He also went ahead to pray for those that will believe in future, that they too may be one. And therefore, he did not leave room for Christians to be divided in denominations. I'd like also to quote a verse in the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 1 verse 10, which says, I appeal to you, brothers and sisters, in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, that all of you agree with one another in what you say, and that there be no divisions among you, but that you be perfectly united in mind and thought. So you can see that in the New Testament there is no room for Christians to be divided, but they are supposed to be one, just as Christ intended. Therefore, denominationalism is evil because it divides Christians. Are we together?
Yeah, I get your point.
Yes.
If that is the case, why then do we read of churches in the Bible with the names of, for instance, the Corinthians, the Ephesians, the Colossians, and so on?
Okay, when you look at those names that you have just mentioned about the Corinthians, the Ephesians, the Thessalonians, the Colossians, those are not names of churches, but they are names of people in places. What I mean is Corinth was a place, and therefore the people living in Corinth were the Corinthians, whether they were believers or non-believers.
Yeah.
Therefore, we cannot take the word Corinthians to mean that it was the name of a church. We cannot take the word Ephesians to mean it was a name of a certain church. Just like we have the people living in Kenya, we call them Kenyans.
Yeah.
So we cannot take the name Kenya to mean that it is a name of a church. But those people living in Corinth, the believers in Corinth, were called Corinthians. But that was not the name of the church. The name of the church did not have a name, but the people in Corinth were the ones referred to as
The Corinthians.
Therefore, Corinthians were people in Corinth, but it was not the name of the church. Are we together?
We are together.
Therefore, the Church of Christ remains to have no name, but we use descriptions just to describe what it is. In some instances, you will find that it is referred to as the Church of Christ, the Church of God, but those are descriptions. They are not names. Okay?
Wow. Thank you for your well-informed answers.
Thank you too. I really appreciate